Hi everyone, Bee here from Bee Crochets, and today I'm going to show you how I did the umbrella logo from Resident Evil. So as we go through this, you will notice that I do not care much about the back of this piece. Totally feel free to do your interstarsia crochet, I think is what it's called, or weave in your ends at the end, and maybe even do the black lines a little more properly here. I didn't care too much, and I know that a couple people wanted to use it as like a patch, so I'm just gonna leave it like this and do with the back as you wish. But I'll show you what I did to get here. So first we're gonna need 3 yarns. I don't have the black one on hand, but you will need the red and the white, and we're gonna do some color changes. For the crochet hook, I went just a smaller size than I normally would for this type of yarn. You can see here it kind of just barely fits. I just really want the colors nice and compact. I do also have another tip for that, so don't worry too much if you don't have maybe a smaller crochet hook than what the yarn is suggested with. We can fix that to an extent, I think. And then we have just our handy dandy scissors and a little threader. So what's going to happen is here on the outside I did single crochet border, and then on the inside it's just a single line threaded throughout. And I also threaded, I didn't like that the single crochet was showing too much color in between the stitches. Sorry, not single crochet, slip stitch. Excuse me. I didn't like that the slip stitch had too much space in between, so I actually went through and used the end of this yarn to kind of fill it in. So I will show you that at the end of the video as well. And yeah, I think that's all we need. So we'll go ahead and get started. The 2 techniques I'm going to be using is a magic circle and something called like interlocking double crochets. I'm going to put the links to the tutorial that I watched for that down below, so you guys have it as well. And yeah, I think that's all, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so to get started with row 1, we are going to do a magic circle. I'm going to drop the tutorial that I used to understand it better down in the description, so that if you would like, you can go ahead and also follow along with that if I don't explain it as clearly. So the reason I'm doing a magic circle is to get this inner hole, basically. You can't really see it too well because it's covered up very nicely by the black yarn. But I just wanted to get it as small as possible, and it was just rather difficult to do that with the chains. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. So you can start with whichever color you would like. We're going to grab the tail end of your color between your thumb and your index finger, and then we're going to extend the middle finger, wrap the yarn over the middle finger, back under, and over. So we're basically just creating a little X here. Now what you want to do is go under this first strand of yarn, pull through your leading yarn, and we're going to do a twist. Now I don't remember if she did a full 360 twist, but that's what I'm going to do. And just go ahead and pull that through. So now we have our chain 1, and you can see that when I pull this tail end here, it slowly starts to close. So this is perfect. This is exactly what we want. I'm going to loosen it up a little bit, and then we can go ahead and get started. So this is basically an 8-sided granny square with just some color changes, in a way. So our row 1 is just going to be all double crochets. So it's going to be alternating double crochets of each color. So since I have red here, I'm going to go ahead and get started with red. I do want to add just one more chain here to get up to the height of a double crochet. And I'm going to go ahead and work over my tail end. You can go ahead and work the other way, whatever is more comfortable for you. I've become accustomed to doing it this way, so I'm just going to hold my tail end here and on this side as well. It kind of also stops it from pulling and closing as you're working with it. There we go. So our first double crochet is just going to be a regular double. So go ahead and yarn over into the magic circle, pull through, and then we're going to pull through 2 and pull through 2, just like a regular double crochet. We're going to ignore this chain. That's not going to count as a double crochet here in this row 1. And so the interlocking technique that I'm going to use basically goes through, so you can see you have these 2 little lines from your first pull through. We're going to go ahead and place our hook under the first one here. Pull your yarn through, so this is basically going to be your yarn over, and then just work it as a regular double crochet through the middle of the magic circle. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. And that is basically it. So it's fairly simple. It's just your double crochets. We're just interlocking them here. And we're actually going to do the same thing with the white yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull through the yarn here. Now on a normal color change, you would have pulled it through this last pull through, I guess, basically on your double crochet. Here I don't want to do that because I do not want to mix my colors at all. So I'm going to keep it as separate as possible. But we are still going to interlock the colors. Interlock the double crochets, excuse me. So even with the white, we're going to go, you want to hold on to that tail end maybe. We're going to go through the same thing that we did on the first one and go through this little hoop on the front. Pull your yarn through. Now that's basically our yarn over. And then go ahead and do the second yarn over into the magic circle. Pull through 2. Pull through 2. And you can see there's a little bit of overlap here. Once we tighten everything up, that is going to slowly disappear. So we're going to go ahead and do our second double crochet in the white. Go ahead and work under this front yarn here. Pull through. Go ahead and go into the magic circle. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. And you can see that we're just getting everything nice and tight. So we're going to repeat 3 more times of each color. Alrighty, and once you've got all the way around, you should have 4 sections of each color. So I have 4 sections of red, 4 sections of white, and it doesn't matter which color you started with, like I said, but what we're going to do here is before doing a slip knot, we are going to change colors. So I'm going to switch over to my red, which is what I started with. And I'm also going to pull my magic circle. So I'm going to grab the tail end from the circle and just pull it as tight as I can. Let's see if I can get this just a little tighter. And there we go. That circle is now about as small as I can make it. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this by slip stitching. So if you remember, we're skipping these chains here, so that doesn't really count as a double crochet at all. I'm just going to go into my first double crochet top here and slip stitch into there. And there we go. That is the end of round 1. So starting row number 2, we're going to go ahead and do 3 chains. 1, 2, and 3. This is going to count as our treble crochet. So the pattern for each color block is going to be treble crochet, double crochet. Those are both going into the first double crochet. And then again, double crochet, treble crochet. So that's just going to give us that kind of U shape that we want. This, because it's a chain, it won't be as prominent, but it's still going to count as a treble crochet, unlike the first row, which did not count. So here we're just going to do the linking double crochet. So go into the second chain and use that basically as a little hook for the front. And then here, to make this little hole disappear, we're gonna go into the double crochet and then hook this back yarn. So you can see there's a little loop here right under my hook. I'm actually going to take that and put my hook under it. Now this is optional, it just closes the color gaps a little bit better. And then you're going to grab your yarn and pull through to the front, and you can see that's basically pulling up the yarn and closing that little hole. So we're going to go ahead and just work that as a regular double crochet and close that up. Now you can see here it's still super prominent, so we're going to close that. But first, our second double crochet, so go ahead and work into the front of that, pull the yarn through, and then work this just as a regular double. Put it under here, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And so you can see why I did the pull up feature on this second one here. It's just, this is such a huge gap that I wanted it closed. So for the treble crochet, which is going to go into this same double, we're going to do a yarn over and then insert here, pull your yarn through. So that's our interlocking treble crochet. And then we're going to go under the double and we're going to hook onto that little loop here. Pull that through. And you can see it's pulling up that yarn and closing that gap. So pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And now because this is a chain, it's not quite holding its height very well, but you can see here this treble crochet compared to the double is making quite a nice little dip, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to go ahead and switch colors just like we did in row 1. So grab your leading yarn for the white and just pull that through this little hoop. So to start with the white, very similar to the double crochets, since this is going to be our first treble, you want to work it through the front of the top row, pull through, work it through the front here, pull that through, and then work into the top of the first double crochet, pull that through, and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. So we have our first treble crochet in the white. Now we're going to go ahead and work in our double crochet into that same stitch. So we're going to do our double crochet like usual, interlocking it through this little bottom hoop. Go ahead and work into the top of that double crochet. Go to the back. Pull through this back here. If your yarn splits easily, this might be a little annoying. It is totally optional. I just like the way that it pulls up this yarn, this front yarn, and just makes it really nice and solid. So like a regular crochet, pull through 2 and pull through 2. There we go. We're going to work into the second double crochet with a double crochet. So go ahead and work into the front, interlock that, work into the top of the double crochet, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And now because we're going to be working our treble crochet with nothing, without a second one of these little front loops, we're going to go ahead and just yarn over and then attach it through here, pull through. And now for this one, we're going to work into the top of the double crochet and then into the back of this little loop. basically into the back of whatever you can grab. It's a little, it's not a precise, it's not a precise one here. We're just trying to cover the holes. So go ahead and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And that's our first proper treble crochet, 2 double crochets, treble crochet. And you can see it does have a little bit of a dip here, and it kind of points out here where the treble crochets meet. So now we're going to go ahead and switch colors. So I'm switching over to my red. I'm just going to slip through here. And we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. So into the front loop of this, pull that red through, into the front loop of this, pull that red through, work into the top of the double crochet, and pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So that's the first double crochet of the red. Now we're going to go ahead and pop into the second one. We're skipping the first one because this is going to be our double crochet. Pull that through. You're going to work into the double crochet and find that little hoop here. Now it's a little more visible. And pull through 2, pull through 2. So next again is just our double crochet. So we're going to work through the front loop here, pull through, and to the top of the second double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2. And now because this is our second treble, we're going to yarn over, go through the front loop of this double crochet, pull through, and then we're going to go into the top of the double crochet and hook it onto this little loop, or under rather, and just go ahead and pull that through to the front. You can see it pulls it up and closes that gap. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And you can see it's just giving us a little bit of accent here where they meet. And so we're just going to go ahead and continue doing that all the way around. And once you've reached the end, I am going to change colors in order to work in my last slip stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and change into the red and find the top of my chain 3 and just do a regular slip stitch into the top of it. And I'm going in the wrong direction. And so this is the only treble crochet that's not really going to be connected very well, but we're just going to accept that. Go ahead and pull that through and tie off that end as you like. I typically just kind of tighten it up here and work it into the top of this row. There we go. And now we have the base, basically, of the Resident Evil umbrella logo. Now you can see adding the black kind of makes the little dips here disappear a bit. I'm going to show you how to add it, how I added it anyways. You could do however you prefer. These little ones here were super simple. It's basically just sewing it through. I will show you just how I did the edges as well. So Go ahead and slip stitch a very thin black yarn onto your hook. And we're basically just going to work all the way around in a slip stitch. So pick any of these anywhere in the edge. Go ahead and pull it through and pull it through. So it's just slip stitching into the top of the double crochets. Oh my god. Alrighty, so once you slip stitch that all the way around, you're gonna see you get that nice little rim, and you can see a little bit of color coming through back here. The way I kind of did that with this one was I tied it with the end of this yarn here. So this is actually a separate piece. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that. You want to cut off a good amount of yarn to just wind it through all of those pieces. We're going to put it into our little threader. And you can just start from the top of any and pop it under the black here. Pull it through that top. And I'm just going to leave a little tail at the end so I can tie it. And basically here all the way straight down, we're just going to pop it in between the colors and pull it through. You can see that creates that nice separation on the back. What we want to do now is to avoid overlapping. You want to come a little bit under, and preferably right in between these colors where they meet. Go ahead and pull that through and then work it back over and push it into the end of this one. So this is just trying to make it as straight as possible without overlapping the blacks too much. And there you can see we're just going to keep going straight down. Here, once you get to this little end, it can be a little tricky, so try to just get it in between here to secure it. And you're probably going to have to go through that little magic circle thread, just anywhere here to really get it nice and secure so it doesn't move on you. Pull it through, push it in, come back, and then we're going to go down to the next, basically making this straight line. And just go right back at the bottom where you pulled it through the first time. Now the perfectionist in me is not too happy with this, as there's going to be a little bit of overlap in the colors, but it's still looking okay. I'm gonna go push that through here in the middle somewhere, pull it through, push it back, and if there's any colors that are just not cooperating, Yeah, sometimes it's just, it is what it is. This one came out quite almost perfect. You can still see I had a little bit of overlap, so you can't get it all, unfortunately, but with the amount of technical errors I've had filming this tutorial, I'm just gonna accept this as it is. So we're gonna go and pull through, go back into that same spot, and I don't quite like that, so I'm actually going to take that out because I'm not happy with that placement. It doesn't look straight enough. Unfortunately, you have to take it out from both sides. So I'm just going to pull that back through. Thread it again. And let's try that again, make it a little more straight. Like I said, there's going to be some overlap, but hopefully we can just kind of cover it up with the black thread a little bit. Also, from a distance, you most likely really won't see that. So now it looks a little bit straighter, a little happier with that. And again, we're just going to go under the black, right under that. And back into the same spot. And pull that through. And that's basically how we're just going to make one straight line down. And then just pick either right or left. We're going to work into under the black. Pull it through. About halfway, maybe a little less, maybe a third. Pull it through. Here in the middle somewhere, another third. Pull that through. And then here you just want to catch a little bit of yarn somewhere just to secure it a little bit. Go ahead and pull that through and pull it back up to the top. Perfect. Go down here. And you can do this however you want as well. Like last time I didn't really secure this bottom piece. Now I will. It's really just however looks best for you. I'm just gonna stick it in the middle of the black yarn here. Pull that through. Let's see if this is straight enough. Alright, and so once you have the black lines set up as you would like them, that's pretty much it. You could basically either tie up this loose end. I didn't quite leave myself enough space, but I will show you. Let me find where I ended here. So to kind of close these up a little bit, I basically just wove in the extra black yarn this way. So I pulled it up under, and then I just basically went into the middle of it. Pulled it through. So just I filled in the slip stitches is all I did with the remaining black yarn. Now, of course, this time I did not leave myself enough room, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you have your Resident Evil logo. And yeah, if crochet has taught me anything, it's that sometimes no matter how hard you try, things will not come out the way you want, but I think it's looking pretty good. And yeah, if you guys try it yourselves, do let me know how it comes out for you. If you'd like anything changed or if you have any suggestions, I'm always willing to try something new and give it a go, because I know nothing is perfect. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that, and if you are as well, go ahead and drop a like, maybe a follow, and yeah, let me know what you're working on in the comments as well.